Ever since the release of Boruto Two Blue Vortex, there have been countless YouTube videos talking about the possibility of Sasuke being dead, some even asserting that this is indeed the case. These theories range from Sasuke getting killed by Boruto, him being turned into a tree, or even his body being transformed into that of a Ten-Tails clone. However, there's a simple explanation as to what happened to Sasuke, and it was hinted at in part 1 of Boruto. You see, after Ada switched the lives of Boruto and Kawaki using the power of Omnipotence, most of the characters were negatively affected, which of course includes Sasuke. He believed that Boruto was the enemy, the person who killed his best friend and destabilized the village he swore to protect. So in this case, Boruto was his target. He was something he needed to deal with. Now this somewhat changed after Sarada, who wasn't influenced by Omnipotence, pleaded with Sasuke and asked him to protect Boruto despite his feelings towards him. Now how Sarada was able to do this and why she isn't affected by Omnipotence hasn't been revealed as yet, but the main theories are that Sarada manipulated Sasuke using the Genjutsu ability of her newly awakened Mangekyo, or it's also possible that Sasuke was moved by Sarada awakening the Mangekyo in that specific moment since he understands the strong emotions needed to acquire it. Either way, Sasuke listened to Sarada's wishes and decided to devote his entire life to protecting Boruto instead of exacting vengeance against him. However, there's one key thing that everyone missed, which is that Sasuke's allegiance to Boruto was never going to last. You see, as confirmed by Sarada and Sumire in chapter 1 of Boruto Two Blue Vortex, no one recognizes that something isn't right. In fact, to them, the ones who aren't affected by Omnipotence are the weird ones. To them, Kawaki has always been the 7th Hokage's son, and Boruto has always been a rebellious outsider, now an ungrateful traitor. She then went on to say that everyone still sensed some of the paradox earlier on, like how could Kara have modified Kawaki's body if he had been born and raised in the village? What happened to Momoshiki? Even Shikamaru hounded Kawaki about that. So in essence, everyone noticed the blatant contradictions to the new reality manifested by Ada, which caused them to question it. This means that it is possible for you to fight against Omnipotence if your attention is called towards certain inconsistencies, or if someone does something that causes you to doubt your perceived reality. This explains why Sasuke was able to fight against Omnipotence, since Sarada awakening her Mangekyo in that specific moment added validity to her claim, thus causing Sasuke to question his own thoughts and later noticing the contradictions. This of course is in reference to Sasuke pointing out the headband he gave to Boruto and him being able to sense Momoshiki's presence within him. So in theory, if you constantly point out the contradictions to the ones affected by Omnipotence, they should be able to fight against it, right? Well, not really. You see, Sarada later said that the slight ease everyone felt because of Omnipotence slowly dissipated over time, so that now no one has any doubts left. We even see this in chapter 1 where Shikamaru no longer questions or sees any contradictions with the current reality, as he once did when he was initially affected. This simply means that Omnipotence is a presence that is always active, even post-jutsu activation, thus constantly working towards patching any holes in its programming. This is the same force Sasuke said he felt within him, trying to silence all of his doubts despite the obvious contradictions before him. So what I believe happened is that similar to how Shikamaru and everyone else in the village ended up fully succumbing to Omnipotence, the same thing happened to Sasuke over time. This means that he would then revert to his initial state of vengeance against Boruto for killing his best friend and trying to kill Kawaki. This would of course lead to Sasuke attacking Boruto with intent to kill, thus changing his relationship with him from ally to foe. Now you could use this as a jumping off point to say that Boruto had to kill Sasuke as a means of defending himself, which would then mean that one of the most beloved characters in Naruto got killed off screen. I personally doubt that would happen due to perceived fan backlash, which actually goes into a writer's or publisher's decision making, despite what others might have you believe. So what I believe happened is that instead of having Boruto kill Sasuke, they had him locked away instead. This would of course be suggested by Sasuke himself, as he tried to fight off his urge to kill Boruto due to Omnipotence. In a sense, this would link back to his conversation with Boruto in chapter 69, where he said that he might be the one having to show his resolve next. This was of course in reference to Boruto being willing to sacrifice his own life in the battle versus Code in order to protect his loved ones. Now, as I said before, the most obvious interpretation of this would be that Sasuke would sacrifice his own life to stop Momoshiki, but that could just be a red herring, similar to how many believe that Baryon mode would kill Naruto when it ended up just killing Kurama. A similar bait and switch switch could play out here as well, whereas instead of Sasuke trying to subdue or possess Boruto, Sasuke might be the one needed to be contained. Now this brings into question how they would be able to contain Sasuke, cause even if Boruto is deemed far stronger than Sasuke at this point, he can't keep beating Sasuke up every time he tries to break free. Especially considering the fact that Sasuke still has access to his Susanoo even though he lost one of his eyes. This is proven by the fact that Madara was able to use his humanoid Susanoo while having no eyes. This simply means that Susanoo is a power you will always have access to post awakening. This means that Sasuke can't easily be contained while he still has consciousness. So the obvious course of action would be to make him unconscious. That then brings us back to chapter 68 when Sasuke returned from his mission, informing Shikamaru that he has intel on Code's whereabouts. We then come to find out that Sasuke located one of Boruto's cult facilities, an hidden structure on the edge of the land of snow. This is very important since this is the same facility they used to engage in rituals and human experimentation, the same facility used for disposing cyborgs that Jigen had ordered to be scrapped. So if Sasuke was able to hide somewhere with Boruto as a base of operations, this location would be his best bet due to its secluded nature and available technology. Now Sasuke did tell Shikamaru about this location, but it was already investigated and no longer occupied by the Leaf Ninja by the events of chapter 79. This then means that Boruto and Sasuke would have access to the containers used to house Damon and Ada while keeping them alive. So instead of risking siding against Boruto, whether it be in battle or helping the Leaf Village to find him, Sasuke instead chose to remove himself from the equation. Now the great thing about this is that the pods used to house Damon and Ada likely sustained them and preserved their forms, which means they didn't age physically while inside of those pods. So similar to how Naruto won't age while being inside Kawaki's dimension, Sasuke wouldn't age a day as well. This is a great way to remove both of them from the story while keeping them in top forms for future storylines, which is likely the goal. Also, I do believe that Orochimaru and Kashin Koji aided both Boruto and Sasuke, but I'll save that for another video. Now there's another theory out there that I wanted to address, which is that Sasuke got turned into a Ten Tails clone. This theory is based purely on the fact that a claw grime was shown to be in possession of a Renegon, more specifically a Renegon that doesn't possess Tomoes. This distinction is very important since we all know that the Ten Tails does possess a Renin Sharingan, which is normally depicted as having Tomoes and being red in color. And while we have no idea what the color of the Renegon the claw grime possessed is, we do know that it doesn't possess the Tomoes similar to the Renin Sharingan. The logical conclusion would then be that the Renegon used by the claw grime didn't come from the Ten Tails itself. That logic then brought everyone to Sasuke since he's the only other user of the Renegon in the series currently. In fact, Sasuke's Renegon is the only one that possesses the ability to activate or deactivate the embedded Tomoes, which normally happens when he's low on chakra. This then means that it's more likely that the Renegon used by the claw grime belonged to Sasuke, and it likely can't access the Tomoes due to not having enough chakra or not being the original user. So you can see how you can make the argument for this being the case. The one issue with this is that Sasuke's Renegon was destroyed, and it's even possible that the eye itself was removed due to the extent of the damages. That's because it wasn't just a cut or a small puncture that could be healed. The kunai covered the entire circumference of the eyeball itself, which means the fluids within the eye itself would have leaked out, thus making it unusable. Now this is fiction, so maybe the eyeballs are just built different in Naruto. Maybe Sakura was able to heal the eye itself, but wasn't able to restore its vision or the abilities it possessed before. However, even if that was the case, it should still remain unusable even if Code transferred the eye itself to a claw grime or himself, unless there's some unknown mechanic by which Code or the claw grime is able to repair damaged Renegon. Of course, this is also possible since it's fiction and Kishimoto can do whatever the hell he wants, but going off what we know currently, that shouldn't be possible. That then brings us back to the Ten Tails and its Renin Sharingan. If the Renegon used by the claw grime didn't come from Sasuke, it had to have originated from the Ten Tails itself. We have to remember that Kage awakened her Renin Sharingan only after consuming the chakra fruit created by the original Ten Tails, who also possessed the Renin Sharingan. Then we have Hagoromo, the son of Kaguya, who was able to awaken a Tomoe-less Renegon due to the power he inherited from Kaguya and the chakra fruit, the same chakra fruit which gave Kaguya her Renin Sharingan. In fact, Hagoromo is the one who gave Sasuke his Renegon as stated in the databook, despite Hagoromo himself not having a Tomoe Renegon. What I'm trying to say is that the Tomeless Renegon and even the Sharingan are both derivatives of the Rene Sharingan, thus the name Rene Sharingan. So similar to how Hagoromo was able to awaken a Renegon without Tomoe's despite his power descending from the users of a Rene Sharingan, the same thing could have happened to the Ten-Tails and the Claw Grime. Now what we also know is that most Renegons are different in colors and possess different abilities. Hagoromo's purple Renegons gives him the powers of the Six Paths among other things. Momoshiki's red/yellow Renegons allows him to absorb and amplify attacks, while Urashiki's Renegons allowed him to see into the future and other things the plot demanded. So the truth is that we don't know for sure how one awakens the Renegon, since so many characters possesses different versions of the Dojutsu. It could be that they awaken their Tomeless Renegons by consuming a chakra fruit, or maybe they are just naturally capable of awakening Renegons. I mean, we did see Momoshiki awaken a new Renegon on his forehead after consuming Kinshiki, which had nothing to do with the Ten-Tails, so it could go either way. What I also want to point out is that the Ten-Tails seen laying on the ground in chapter 3 of Boruto TBV had a claw mark over his Rene Sharingan. So it is possible that the Renegon we see used by the Claw Grimes is the same Renegon used by the Ten-Tails. It's just transferring it to the other Claw Grimes using the claw marks created by code. Now of course, this would just bring us back to the initial argument of the Rene Sharingan possessing Tomoe's while the Renegon used by the Claw Grime didn't. So my counter to that would be the possibility that the Rene Sharingan has the ability to turn off the Tomoe's similar to Sasuke's Renegon. Remember, this only happens when Sasuke doesn't have enough power or chakra. And as seen in chapter 3, the Ten-Tails is in a desiccated state, even way smaller than it initially was. So the Ten-Tails losing the ability to activate the Tomoe's due to it being in a less powerful state would make perfect sense. Now obviously this is headcanon, but nothing ever said that a Rene Sharingan could never lose its Tomoe's. We've just never seen a Rene Sharingan user in such a depowered state to find out. So in conclusion, I believe that that theory doesn't really conclusively prove that Sasuke was turned into a Claw Grime, and I don't think that would be a wise decision, like fan-wise. There would be like crazy backlash, but of course it could work out perfectly and I'm just yapping here. But I do believe that Sasuke being stored in one of the containers that Ada and Damon were preserved in makes perfect sense to remove him from the story, similar to how Naruto was removed as well, and then we can actually bring both of those loved characters back even like 30 years into the future or 50 years, and they would still be in their prime state as relates to their physical capacity. So in a sense it's perfect because they're just immortalizing Naruto and Sasuke, similar to how Boruto and Kawaki will live for a very long time due to them being Otsutsuki. So they can like bring back Naruto and Sasuke later on down the line to have like limitless stories about them. So I think it makes perfect sense. But let me know your thoughts on it. Do you think this makes sense to you, or am I just yapping here? Do you think Sasuke is a tree, or do you think he's like turned into a Claw Grime or whatever, or do you think he's dead? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and of course let me know why, so we can have a discussion. With that being said, drop a like if you like the video, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.